That's a bit of a cop-out, but I'll take it.
Health's coming along as well, too. All good signs heading into 2026. We hope that's the case for you as you join us on this wonderful day for basketball. And right out of the gate, we get a quick whistle and a foul. Daly trying to be a little aggressive there. Miami will have the inbound. Worth noting, Liz, that Miami is a little short-handed today coming into this one.
They are, yeah. They have Blazik out. Really good shooter for them. She's done really well for them in some previous games. They're going to be missing her outside presence for sure, but hopefully that inside presence for them will be strong enough. And here we see Gal hitting that three. They can do it. They have the capabilities, so it'll still be a good game. And
it's not a matter of whether or not Blazik will be available. She did not make the trip. They left her in South Florida to make sure she's ready to go for the key 3-game homestand coming up in the ACC. Hey, Wenzel, first look for Virginia Tech, and it pays off.
Yeah, she's been playing so aggressively. Starting off the game exactly where she wants to be. I know Coach Duffy will be very happy to see her being aggressive. Off the dribble is what she loves to do, so not a surprise at all for the first play.
Here's a look at the entire starting five. Kempson, who also is a key contributor, one of the many who have come over and become a part of Tricia Cullop's stable. And today's going to be an important day in the building one way or the other. She's going for what would be her 500th win in the head coaching ranks. Would be a 500th win for Coach Cullop on the Miami side. It would be a 500th win for Virginia Tech in the history of the program inside this facility, Castle Coliseum, if the Hokies win today. So a big 500 either way for someone before the day is done. They work it to the interior, and how about the turnaround? A little too strong off the glass, but that is out of bounds to Virginia Tech. Here is the head coach of the Hokies, of course, Megan Duffy, getting her system established here in Blacksburg.
Yeah, she definitely is. I think she's done a great job coming in Blacksburg. The people love her here. She's built a great culture, getting some key pieces returning. That's hard to do these days, but she's been able to do it. Also getting some good recruits, some good transfers. I think the town of Blacksburg likes what she has going on.
Well, these two coaches with some familiarity going back to the MAC days. We'll talk about that as we go a little deeper into this thing, but not their first meetings in ACC competition. And there's a bucket and a response for Virginia Tech needed now as you see both teams in the score sheet. Here's a takeaway. A little too strong, and Baker able to slow things up a bit. There's Wenzel, who hit the first shot for the Hokies a moment ago. Weighs her options. Still plenty of time. 10 to shoot for Virginia Tech. Possession preserved. They're going to adjust the shot clock to 16 based on possession, and you just saw our officials for the first time. Ed Sidlaski leads this group. Ken Nash and Christy Apollaniez, the three responsible for this New Year's Day basketball clash between the Canes and the Hokies.
Interesting to note, Miami coming out in that zone. Virginia Tech looking a little bit stagnant to get that to start. They're going to have to move the ball, maybe hit some outside shots, or really attack the middle of that zone to get them out of it.
Both teams with some energy coming into this one as well, coming off victories, things beginning to trend their direction right now.
Yeah, they're both coming off some win streaks. They both play with a lot of energy. They like transition, so it should be a fun one tonight. And one team's going to get their second conference win.
And you said you're watching pace in this one in a major way.
Oh, yeah, that's what's so fun to watch about this Virginia Tech team, and Miami brings that as well. Not only the guards, but the posts love to run for the Hokies, and they get a lot of shots up. Sometimes they're maybe a little quicker than Coach Duffy would like, but I think she prefers that to them slowing it down more often than not.
A couple of teams also like to block your shot, so much to keep an eye on in this one. Some changes coming as the first substitutions make their way into the contest. Trent for the Hokies into this personnel grouping. Nelson working it far side. Single digits on the shot clock. From the corner, there's the true stroke of Karis Baker.
That was a very intentional play to get an overload on that side to work against the zone. A really good call by Coach Duffy or Mckenzie Nelson, whoever called that play, but a great shot for Karis Baker. They're going to want to keep doing that against the zone.
We saw her average in double figures, but what did Coach Cullop tell us? She was everywhere on the floor in the second half when these two teams met a year ago. She said, I know this, 10 almost single-handedly took care of business against us the last time. Here's how good she is already in this one.
Yeah, a foot inside the three-point line. We know that she can do it from 3 feet behind the three-point line. A very versatile scorer and been playing so well with so much confidence lately.
A couple of the key contributors already with a bucket apiece for Virginia Tech. And here's a turnaround. How about that shot?
That was a bit of a broken down play. I'm not sure the spacing was exactly what they wanted, but regardless, Mel Daly is so good at hitting that shot at the free throw line.
Daly will take it. And that's her prime location, right? Right along that area where she has been incredibly effective. Right up against the bucket, but that's defended well, and it's going to be Hokies basketball.
Yeah, still a good job by Kyle. I think Miami needs to continue to get Kyle touches early in the possession. I know that's what they've had success with in the past in their wins, so regardless of her not having extreme success early, they need to keep focusing on that.
Particularly without one of their main shooters today, her play must be elevated.
Exactly. Definitely needs to hold the fort down low and get some guard help on the outside.
Feed inside to Daly, but it goes back out top. Wenzel, nothing but the twine from downtown. Virginia Tech with a bit of a spurt here at just inside 6 minutes opening period. Miami puts it on the floor. And that's a nice job to use the window.
Yeah, Miami runs a lot of sets. Coach Duffy talks about preparing for that, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of their sets boil down to one-on-one play, and that's kind of what you saw there. They just took it one-on-one and had success.
Yeah,
They're going to keep doing that.
Simpson, sorry about that. Liz, that was Simpson, the UNLV transfer, one of a handful of transfers that have really had their say and made their mark. You may remember what she did in the postseason against the Gators a year ago when she was at UNLV in postseason tournament action. She makes her presence known here inside Castle. Now Miami slows it up.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to run one of those sets that Coach drew up for them, get something really intentional.
That's a long three. That was from the top of the Virginia Tech logo, but it's off the mark. This anything but drained from three-point land, and Virginia Tech.
Underperformance maybe against Radford affect her, but that's not the kind of player Carleigh is. She's a confident player and an upperclassman at this point, so she's willing to take those less than ideal games and turn the page.
Well, there's one more Radford connection in this game. Trisha Cullip, who's the head coach for Miami, she was at Radford as an assistant in the early 90s. 94, 95, spent a couple of years right here. She said, I spent a lot of time at Virginia Tech in those days. This is where you came when you were looking for something to do. Her team doing something well here. Raviv knocks down a distant shot, much needed for Miami. Gives us a chance to check in with Tamara.
Yeah, Coach Cullip in her huddle was very brief with her team. She said, you guys are just throwing up shots, hoping that you're going to get fouled. Instead, you need to be aggressive off the ball screens, get into the paint, and run what we know. You guys are just throwing shots up there and hoping that they go in. That's not what our game plan is, guys.
What do you hear from the head coach of the Canes there?
Yeah, I think that's interesting to note because Miami has had so much success getting to the free throw line. I believe they're third in the conference at doing so. So they might be a little bit used to doing that, but not having success getting there to start. Need to try to get something else. That's a good touchdown low.
That would consider something else. A couple of good looks immediately for Miami out of the timeout. So think about the nature of it when Virginia Tech was on that early spurt. That cuts it to 4. Trying to work around a defender, but too many of those Canes jerseys there. It's Miami's ball. Raviv kicks it inside. Boy, good use of the body to go reverse on that.
That was a really good move by Wetzel. Yeah, down low, really good finish. I think if Kill Peterson and her continue to be matched up, we're going to see them take advantage of that a bit more.
Natalie Wetzel, the Pennsylvania native, making her mark on this one thus far.
Miami foul number 5.
We get a foul.
Adams, her first personal
It's going to
foul.
be against Adams. Just the first whistle against Adams. It gives a chance for a substitution on the Miami side. Here's a look at what the freshman has done so far. She leads an impressive crop of freshmen for Miami.
She does, yeah. They have a really good class coming in. Shout out to Coach for being able to put that group together. It's hard coming in the ACC, a huge league, but being able to recruit what she was. Wow. Stop me in my tracks with that block.
Don't think so. However, the possession goes the Hokies' way in the end after all.
We're going to have to see that again. That was an exciting few seconds, wasn't it?
That whole sequence needs to be replayed the next gap we get. Tremendous recovery and response from the Hokies right there after the master block. Lead 5. as the Canes work it around up top. No holes in that interior defense just yet. Found one for pass, and the finish is true as well. Good job getting the job done. Freshly into the game, already making her mark on the contest. In the lead, 1 possession now. Too much touch out top. So one end of the floor goes your way, the other one not always so much.
There's that block again. Kyla Freelon expecting an easy lay. Not in there that time, but a quick pass out from El Daly to Mckenzie Nelson. Really good heads-up play and way to not quit on the play.
Colo, think about what she's done since coming into the contest. Had the block on that end of the floor, had the bucket on the other end of the floor. Now whistled for the foul here, but you can say one thing about it. She's been involved since entering the game.
Yeah, she's shown a lot of discipline both on defense and on offense, and that was a good read. They knew that Virginia Tech was going to double down low, so they were really ready to pass the ball off to the 4.
From the corner, doesn't matter where she's shooting from right now. Baker on fire, and she delivers another 3.
Picking up right where she left off. She's playing with so much confidence, and when you have that level of confidence paired with that quick of a release, it's going to be really hard to stop her outside.
Kempson saw all kind of real estate, but was a little too strong. Major collision up top. Going to be Virginia Tech basketball when they sort it all out.
Yeah, that was a risky play by Layla Wells, kind of jumping the passing lane, but I know Coach Duffy really likes that aggression from their guards. They'll probably take that as long as the shot that they get down low is contested, and they were able to do that, but got to be careful with those outlet passes.
Take another look at this.
That outlet pass from Carol Peterson, she's got to be aware of where the Miami players are up the floor. Mckenzie Nelson doing a good job to meet the ball, though. That's what resulted in the foul call. If you don't, it ends up being a steal.
Well, there's the physical nature of ACC basketball on display for you, something you know all too well.
Oh, yeah, I walked away with a few bloody noses, swollen foreheads, and whatnot.
And a whole lot of memories.
A whole lot of memories.
Nelson. And here's another 3. That one is off the mark, a little too strong. Offensive board. Baker will try a 3. It rattles out.
That's a great shot, though, off the offensive rebound. When you get inside like that and are able to pass it out, those are 3s that you always want to take, especially if you have Karis Baker outside.
Settling into a rhythm as we close in on the final minute of the opening period. ACC action in Blacksburg. Traveling violation, going to send it the other way. News trickling in from elsewhere around the conference. How about this? Georgia Tech in overtime taking down 18th ranked Notre Dame.
Wow, I did not see that coming. I was able to watch the first half, and I was waiting for Notre Dame to separate, but props to Georgia Tech for sending that game to overtime and getting it done.
Just the second time that Georgia Tech has taken down Notre Dame. So banner day for the Jackets in the ACC. And a reminder for all of us, Liz, that particularly with things in full swing now in 2026, anything can happen on any given night in this league.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes the ACC so interesting this year. It's not as top-heavy as maybe we've seen in the past. And on any given night, if you don't come out and play your best, you are at risk of taking a loss.
Who's going to come away with a W in this one, a key conference win available to either Miami or Virginia Tech on this New Year's Day. Happy to have you with us. First period, I got to ask you, as we go through the final seconds of it now, what are going to be your takeaways from this first 10 minutes of action?
I think the Hokies have handled the zone very well. I think Miami can continue to be more intentional about when Virginia Tech is choosing to double. They're naturally putting themselves at a disadvantage, kind of picking their battles down low, and when Miami has been able to exploit that, they've done well, but need to get back to that, and I agree with Coach on them needing to not just try to draw fouls, and need to be very intentional about the shots they take.
Yeah, good thoughts. 5 on the shot clock as an offensive foul is called, and Miami's going to have the inbound with just 8.7 remaining in the opening period. Virginia Tech, an early spurt, pushed out front. Will the advantage stay 6 at the first quarter horn? That's the question. Well, the step back 3, It will not go. It will, in fact, be out. You know what Baker's done already in this one, and Daly in the score sheet in that first quarter as well. What a trio they've been for the Hokies.
Yeah, they've been really good. Great job by Coach Duffy getting Wenzel and Baker to return as key pieces of this team, and then showing her recruiting skills. Mel Daly is such a good pickup from Northwestern and has been so solid for them. I love the way she plays, so confident in herself, so stoic, but in a beautiful way.
Yeah, all those pieces come together nicely for a team looking to climb in the ACC. Freshly underway in the second period of action. Miami team looking to close up the gap with just 3 to shoot, but that's off the rim, and it'll be Virginia Tech's. Good movement. And then inside where Baker tried it, but a little too strong.
I'd like to see Miami get an early touch with Kyle here. Let's see if they're intentional about getting it inside. Yep.
Wide open from the corner. Guess who ends up with it when all is said and done? And here's one of those moments that we're going to keep an eye on today. You mentioned the chance to go to the free throw line and how good Miami has been there.
Yes, I believe that they've been third in the conference and getting to the free throw line and third in makes, and it's been a big part of their offense. They're going to have to continue to be aggressive in order for that to happen, but they also can't let that completely dictate the style of their play. They still need to make sure they get good shots and they're intentional about what they're doing on offense, but that last play was a really good example of that. Getting an inside-out touch, swinging the ball to get a 3 in the corner is a really good offensive possession, and finishing that up with an offensive rebound is even better.
70% from the stripe in ACC play, and you heard her say it, third in the conference in terms of getting there and making it count. Timpson back into the game, just ahead of this first free throw, which Kyle drains. Give her 3 points. These are the numbers that back up just how good this team is when given this opportunity.
Yeah, it's a huge part of their game, like we said, and they're going to have to continue to do that. They only have 13 points on the board so far, so going to need to get there if they want to rack up some more points.
Well, half the point total for Kyle coming from the charity stripe. She's 2 of her first 2 in that department. We dip inside 9 to play opening half. The lead 4. Calling for the basketball, Nelson that time. Back in her hands, not enough daylight to do much with it. Well defended by the Canes. Looking to run. Solid defense by Wenzel. For all the things we talked about offensively, to her credit a moment ago, she's just as good in a tough spot on this end.
Yeah, that was a really disciplined play by Carleigh Wenzel on defense, and that was also a really disciplined play by Miami on defense on the other end of the possession before that.
Slowed up into the grasp of Raviv. She'll stop and pop, but it's off the mark. Nelson pulls it down. Boy, one thing on the mind of Suffren right there.
She is so good at being aggressive going downhill in an attacking position. She gets so low to the ground, almost like horizontal. It's really something that not a lot of players can do just physically, but she's able to do that when she sets her mind to it, and she finishes really well at the rim as well.
She becomes the 5th different scorer for Virginia Tech today with that bucket. 3 ball will not go, and gathered up by the aforementioned Suffren. It's all kind of time for the Hokies here. What have you seen from Miami defensively thus far?
They've mixed it up a bit. They've shown some zone, shown some man. They're switching out there on those ball screens right now, forcing a late second shot. That was a pretty good possession from them, but also Virginia Tech needs to move the ball more in order to take advantage of what they have to offer.
Yeah, that was with 3 on the shot clock. Reached the rim, that was all. And it's going to be contact. Whistle on Suffren. Let's take a look at what she did a moment ago offensively.
Yeah, look at the way that she's able to accelerate, staying down low and then accelerating upwards to finish at the rim. And really, once a Miami defender gets behind her, there's not much you can do with Suffren. She's so quick.
Straight attack right there was a thing of beauty. As you see her overall numbers this season, she's the reason The Hokies are up by 6 at the moment, with Miami going back to the line. Well, we are so excited about this. Saturday night, freshman phenom Caleb Wilson, both ranked North Carolina, hosting Wake at the Smith Center. That's at 6. Then immediately following that game, we'll debut the documentary chronicling the 93 national championship winning Tar Heel men's team, led by Dean Smith. You'll get never-before-seen footage, interviews with players, coaches, behind-the-scenes access, both of them right here on the ACC network. And you can stream it on the ESPN app. So if you're a Tar Heel basketball fan, quite a feast for you coming your direction on the ACC network. From the corner, that'll work its way out. Here come the Canes. Not according to script, perhaps, on the initial attack, but this is a pretty good look, though it's off the mark. Boy, battling for it in the corner, and it's going to stay on this end with Miami.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that Miami's over 7 from 3 right now. They're not the best three-point shooting team, but I know especially tonight they're definitely missing Victoria Blazic for them. She shoots really well. I believe she's at 42% on the year. They could really use her to come in and hit a shot right now, but they're going to have to make do without her, and definitely not going to give up.
She didn't make the trip. We talked about it. This is a Miami team that's about to have 3 consecutive games at home, and they want to make sure that she's available for that key ACC stretch. But you're right. Without her, it makes a difference. Just seconds to shoot won't matter. This is going the other way after all. The offensive foul call coming at 6:12. Here's another look at it.
Yeah, that's a tough play. Kind of setting in, getting tripped up a little bit. That could honestly go either way. Sometimes it just happens, but Hokies getting the foul call there. Got to be really, really careful when you have defenders coming at you as an offensive player.
Tech, an early spurt in this game. They've stayed out front. They're by 5 at the moment. And this is still up for grabs. Hokies grab the handle. Wenzel calling for it. There's one.
Yeah, if you're Adams on that play, you got to close out a little bit harder. She's already undersized, and know that Carleigh Wenzel has a hot hand right now. That was a really good read by Carleigh, though, to be ready to shoot that ball.
She's the first in double figures. Give her 11, and Virginia Tech's lead grows to 23-15. And you saw a kick of the foot and a pump of the fist from the coach over there on the Virginia Tech bench. Coach Duffy loving what she's seeing from her team in these last several moments, and a completely different feeling on the opposite bench right now.
Yeah, I love seeing passionate coaches. It's so fun. Makes the environment that much more fun. Gives the fans something to cheer and be loud about.
Well, both these coaches giving it everything they have, and you know how well-traveled Coach Cullip has been. We told you she's going for number 500 today. Head coach at Evansville and Toledo, and these two know each other well, remember, because they faced off against one another in those MAC days. And still pleading her case over there to the tune of 499 wins coming into the building today. Tamara, let's visit with Tamara. A little more on that. Take it away, Tamara.
I think my favorite thing that Coach Duffy said about their relationship and how well she knows Coach Tricia, she mentioned that Coach Tricia's teams, you can't fall asleep on them. And I think her team has done a great job of that. We've seen how awake Carleigh has been compared to the last game where we saw Carleigh Wenzel. And it reminded me of my conversation with Carleigh, too, where she said when she steps on this court, she has to perform. And unlike that Radford game, I think she's done a great job performing tonight, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tamara. Closing in on the midway point of the second quarter. And that one's going to miss everything. So it'll be, well, they're going to say touched on this end and staying on this end.
Been picked, so it felt pretty good. I feel like an expert in the football regards. It's a one-time thing.
Everybody fills out a bracket. For us, it's just bragging rights, but we fill out a bracket. And
exactly.
Miami, of course, advancing, taking down the champs last night. And now we know we'll have a new champion in college football, and certainly the Canes in the thick of that. You know, we were talking to some of the Miami people today in the shoot-around, and they were mentioning what a ghost town it is there on campus with everybody headed to the different locations on the pursuit of the football title. So congratulations to the Canes fans, and certainly everybody in the ACC in behind them right now.
Yeah, super fun to watch and super fun to see a community really rally behind a team. That's my favorite part about college sports, so it's cool to see that for them.
Yeah, nothing quite like it. You know it well right here in Hokie Land, right? The way these fans have rallied around this program. Of course, Liz Kitley alongside, who helped lead this program to Dallas, Texas, once in your own right? Dallas, the good location for Miami last night. That's where you helped lead this team to the Final Four, one of the high water marks in the history of this program. And you're listening to Liz Kitley as she breaks down today's contest between Virginia Tech and Miami. What do you see here at the 4-minute mark of the second?
I mean, Hokies up 10 right now. I think they've done a pretty good job. Miami really just struggling offensively. Not really able to hit a three or too much going on inside. So props to Virginia Tech and their defense and also their confidence on offense.
Well, 4 turnovers, also a big difference maker in these moments. Tamara?
Liz brought up the confidence that she sees in the Hokies right now. I'm seeing that new bounce that Coach Duffy talked about during pregame. She mentioned that this break did her team good. She feels like they're fresh, they're rejuvenated, and you can really tell that they're ready to play.
Yeah, liking the pace as well right now. How about Freeline right there?
Yeah, that's what she's so good at. Not many fives in the country or the league can really get out like she can. She played did track in high school, and you can definitely tell that when you watch her play basketball. She's so incredibly fast. She wins a lot of the sprints for the team on the floor, so seeing her get out in transition is no surprise, and I know it's a huge part of what Coach Duffy wants from her.
Well, and you glance up with the Hokies making 3 of their last 3 and the 4 turnovers in the last 4 minutes or so for Miami. Suddenly, it's a double-digit advantage at 27-17.
It is, yeah. Miami's still not able to hit a 3, 7 for 26 from the floor. Really struggling offensively. But if I were them, I would continue to try to get the ball working inside and out, continue to get the best shot quality possible. And Coach Cullip really loves the depth of her team, loves that anybody can step up, and this is definitely an opportunity for somebody in a Hurricanes jersey to do just that.
Trent coming in as a part of the personnel grouping for the Hokies. She'll come out top, try to help Nelson. Just 5 to work with for the Canes. It's going to take a quick 3. It'll beat the horn, but it's away to, it appeared, Virginia Tech, though there's a whistle.
Yeah, I think that was a good job by Miami in that last possession to use Kyle as a screener. We've mentioned getting the ball to her inside and being able to work that inside-out game, but being able for her to set screens is really, really good for them. And here's that foul again that we see. Going up for those boards can be tough. Carleigh maybe with a little push with the elbow. Good job by the Miami player to fight for that rebound and get the foul call.
Yeah, just about everything she has touched so far going her way in this one. Whistled for the second time there, second personal picked up, worth keeping an eye on. Inside 3 minutes to go in the opening half. Again, that lead at 10 now for Virginia Tech. Good movement to get it inside. It's embarking out some directions. It's single digits on the shot clock now. Baker. All that communication eventually pays off.
Yeah, you could see the emotion building in that possession for Karis Baker. I think we all knew once she got that ball back, she was going to go up strong with it. And she did, able to finish.
Two minutes even in the opening half. Adams over top of defender. Almost dropped it in, but it rattled out.
Yeah, that was a really tough shot. Adams kind of holding the ball on the top of the key for a while and then taking a dribble in-place jump shot. I'm not sure that's exactly what Coach Cullip wants. Probably wants a bit more ball movement out of them, especially right now when they don't exactly have a rhythm on offense. I'm sure they'll be looking to get that in the next possession.
Daly tries it on the other end of the floor with a very different result. What a true shot there. For more on that, let's check in with Tamara.
Well, I told you guys Nay Adams' resolution for 2026. Mel Daly's was to be more disciplined, not just on the court, but including putting away her laundry. And when you saw that, where she was able to finish on that mid-range, she said, that's what I want to do. I want to be more aggressive, not just in the mid-range, but even taking a shot beyond the arc when I get that opportunity. So let's look for maybe a three-pointer from Mel tonight, guys.
Well, and you love what you hear from her, right? You certainly love what you've seen from her thus far.
Yeah, she's been so good. I think everybody in the building can count on her to be consistent in the mid-range. My only comment to her potentially making a three is she's going to have to get outside of the three-point line. A lot of times in offensive possessions, she tends to sink in inside inside the line, and that can make spacing more difficult, and of course makes getting a three-point shot up in the air a bit more difficult. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure she would love to hit a three. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the second half.
Well, and Tamara provides you such a window into the things that are going on off the floor as well. We forget sometimes that everything doesn't revolve around basketball for these young student athletes.
Oh, it definitely does not. I can attest to that in a big way. Of course, basketball is a huge part of all these people's lives, but so much more going off the court as well.
And Kyle, a huge part of what Miami needs to do here. That was an important possession as she was able to ultimately finish there.
It was, yeah. She has 7 rebounds in this first half, as well as 4 turnovers, which I'm sure she'll be more intentional about in the second half, but continuing to be on the glass, get those offensive boards, get some good open looks for Miami will be really important for them.
2 on the shot clock. Would have been perfect, but it wouldn't fall. How about this second effort, though? Totally what the Hokies bargained for, and the building is loving it.
That was all hustle from Layla Wells. So undersized at times, but you would not be able to tell on that play.
Wells brings them to life. They stay there with the work on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, Mckenzie Nelson is so good at drawing charges. We've seen that a lot this season. Just a really disciplined defender. Really good in those regards and able to get that charge. Huge momentum builder right there to continuously build that momentum in the second quarter.
What a way to close out this half, the sequence you just saw from Virginia Tech. The building recognized it. Home fans loving the way things are trending for the Hokies on New Year's Day. At the horn, just a little too strong, but it will be a 33-19 advance to the simplistic approach, and you heard that from a head coach who, again, pursuing win number 500 inside Castle Coliseum today. Hokies looking for their 500th win all-time inside Castle Coliseum as a program. Also, perhaps more importantly, in front of them all right now, an ACC win that's on the horizon for somebody. I got to ask you, adjustments coming out of the locker room that you expect first for Miami?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it right now. Kyle being aggressive down low, I think Coach Kolb is exactly right. That's what they're going to need more of, and continuing to be aggressive on the offensive glass. In turn, they're going to have to handle Virginia Tech's transition. They did a decent job at that in the first half. It didn't get too out of hand, but here we see Kyla Freeland being really intentional about that to start, and they're going to keep doing that, pounding it in transition, and Miami's going to have to be able to sprint the floor and keep up with them.
Freeland, the epitome of that transition with that basket just a moment ago. The initial whistle of this half against the Hokies. It's going to give way as Virginia Tech will check Suffren back into the contest. She's had her moments already in this game as well.
Yeah, it's shocking to me to see that she's only notched 5 minutes in this game so far, because we felt her impact early, but now with Carleigh Wenzel having 3 fouls, she's going to need to make her presence known even more.
Yeah, that's a quick one here in the third quarter that becomes, as you said, will underscore it, number 3 for Wenzel, who has been the headliner and the leading scorer. She's the only player in double figures on either side through a half plus now of action, and that's going to be right in the hands of the Canes. And slowing it up, laying it in. Nice job done there by Kempson to stay under control and complete the bucket.
Yeah, good job on Miami. They've come out with a good energy, a good focus, it seems. Virginia Tech seems like they were playing with that confidence, having that fun, maybe a little bit too loose to start the second half. You're going to need to really lock in because Miami's not going anywhere.
Well, that would help, but it rims off. Baker tried to knock down a wide open 3. This one contested. Same result. That's front of the iron.
Raviv only 1 for 9 in this game. A big scorer for them usually, and just continuing to stay aggressive, which I think is a good sign, but creating the best shot possible is going to be really important for them.
Well, and that 3-point mark, now 0 for 9 when you watch it for Miami continue to grow. This is just inside the 3-point line, but a distant shot that finally goes down.
Yep, and there's Kyla Freeland in transition with the answer again. Mckenzie Nelson has been so good at that pass up the floor this year, getting her 5th assist with only 23 minutes into the game. Really impressive stuff from both Nelson and Freeland.
Hokies content to trade them as the lead is steady at 12. Inside, Kyle's there, uses the glass beautifully.
That was a great reception from Kyle. You can see her working really hard in transition to keep up with Freeland on the other end.
That worked it to 10, but again, I'll say it, Virginia Tech content to trade them right now. Everything Miami does, Hokies have an answer.
Yeah, they're looking good on offense right now, still maintain that confidence from the first half, but they're going to need to get some stops on defense in order to fully gain control of this game.
Daly has 8 with the good work she just did on Virginia Tech's offensive end. She avoids the foul here, but it creates enough of a window that Miami will get the bucket.
Yeah, that was a great attack by Kimpson. She's had a couple really good plays to start the second half. Only saw one field goal go down in the first, but she's been a great scorer for them. A really good transfer, good pickup from Coach Cullup, so good to see her being aggressive to start the second half.
One of a handful of key transfers on this squad. And Freeline, who was working the attack in transition a moment ago, a little calmer scenario, lays one in. Just like that, 41-29 is the advantage. Got to be somewhat disheartening for Miami right now, Liz. They tried to take a chunk out of Virginia Tech's lead. Instead, Hokies have had some type of answer on the other end. But Miami keeping the pressure applied here.
Yeah, they have. But I still think, they would rather have this than the way things were going in the first half. It's so good for them to see baskets go in, get some offensive rhythm going, and also have some players be able to gain some confidence. They weren't looking too confident in the first half.
A little slow back to her feet, Freeline here, but looks like she's going to be okay. Anytime you see that type of collision, that's the second time today we've had a major collision.
Yeah, here's that collision again. Taylor Freeline skying up to get that pass, and again, it's really tough when you're a defender and offensive players are moving around you. You have to be really careful. Good thing that foul was called there, and Hokies able to get the ball underneath the basket.
Yeah, Kimpson had one thing on her mind, and that was get down low quick. Trouble was Sabati between her and the basket that time. Nelson, true from downtown. Well, all the three-pointers in this contest belong to the Hokies. That's the 6th in 11 tries, and the lead grows.
Miami has already almost tied their number of field goals made 4.5 minutes into this game versus the entire first half.
Yeah, so it speaks to the solid start in this third quarter for the Canes, but they look up, find the deficit about where it's been. Adams on the move. And away to Nelson. Looking to attack. She will. Oh, it looked like the beautiful touch she needed off the glass, but it just rims out. Suffren will clean it up. Bit of a wild sequence, and Virginia Tech trying to pay it off.
We have been going up and down to start this third quarter.
You could see in the body language right there of Nelson as if to say, well, let's all catch our breath for a moment.
Yeah, a few players have already had to take a break on the bench. This has been an exhausting start to the second half.
Add it all up. It's a growth of Virginia Tech's lead. Now sitting at 16. How about this spurt for the Hokies?
Yeah, they are looking great on offense. Let's take a look.
Herself, you see that today with her 2 3-pointers.
Thanks to Mary. It has to be pleasing to you, Liz, see her coming into her own in this way.
Yeah, it's really been cool to see her growth. She averaged 3.3 assists last year, up to 6.5 this year, leading the conference in those regards, and already at 6 tonight. Really impressive stuff from the point guard.
Among the recent sparks for a Virginia Tech team on a 6-0 run over the last minute plus. It came after Miami had already matched its high water mark in points for a single quarter in this game at the midway point of the third. But somehow they still look up because of the Virginia Tech run, see the deficit growing. That's got to be somewhat disheartening.
Yeah, it definitely is, but still they have something to build off. But unfortunately, they're going to really need to lock in on defense. Virginia Tech has looked far too comfortable in the second half so far.
Absolutely. Scoring drought of just over a couple of minutes now for Miami. 1:48, the time on which Virginia Tech has put together this 6-0 run. Just 3 to shoot. Defender goes to the deck, leaves all kind of open real estate for the finish. Beautifully done by Peterson.
And that was a really tough finish. Kale Peterson has such unique finishing skills around the basket, kind of old school, able to shoot hooks from both sides. You don't see many players doing that like her these days.
Off into the hands of Nelson, and she's looking up the floor immediately. zip pass inside, but there was contact and a whistle. It'll take us to our break as well. 3 and change remaining in the third. Hokies surging.
Those 3-digit offensive put-ups by Duke, putting 100 points on the board. I know that's what they need right now. They've been looking to get in a rhythm offensively, and it seems that they figured out something tonight.
Well, think about what that means for Sunday when you're in the studio. You got a Duke team surging, and you've got that Notre Dame team. They're going to be looking for a bounce back. That matchup just became all the more interesting.
Exactly. I was already super excited about getting to watch that game in the studio. Now I think we're adding a little bit more fuel to the fire on each side. It's going to be a really good one on Sunday.
ACC action heating up. Certainly has been inside Castle today. Miami with an answer on this end of the floor. Canes needing something right now to keep Virginia Tech from running off and hiding here late third.
They definitely are. They're going to need some stops. I would say that first and foremost. Virginia Tech has had their way on offense. They need to disrupt them, make them uncomfortable. We'll see if they'll be able to do that. They've been more productive on offense in this third quarter, but defensively have not been strong.
Well, and remember, for Virginia Tech, they've been doing a good portion of this in the third quarter without Wenzel on the floor because she ended up with that third foul early in the third. Now, standing by at the scorer's table as we speak, but Virginia Tech held serve without her presence in the personnel grouping.
Yeah, I know Coach Shelby will be really proud of her group for holding strong without their main leader on the floor, and they were able to produce on both sides of the ball, and that was really, really impressive from them. And their attitudes never dipped, never wavered, not having their leader on the floor, and that's a really good sign from a team that doesn't have as much experience.
Yeah, she returned with the lead steady at 16, and you could tell right there the 3 fouls are in effect with the way she had to defend that very play.
Definitely, yeah, and that was a really good job by Tippner being intentional with going up against Wenzel on that play, being aggressive, getting that shot up, and a really beautiful shot at that.
First bucket for Tippner, first try she had put together in this game, so she adds her name to the scorebook, one of 7 that have scored in the contest for Miami to this point. Canes needing the type of run Virginia Tech has utilized a couple of different times in this game. 1 to shoot. That'll reset the shot clock, and how about this? Possession saved, and then the finish underneath with all the good work done by Daly.
What a rebound by Mel Daly. She grabbed that out from the air and able to go up strong. Looks like she might have got hit in the face, but you wouldn't know it by the way she finished that.
Well, and Wenzel being back on the floor, making a difference because she was the one able to put the shot up to preserve possession. Canes with a bucket, now a takeaway. Miami looking for a strong finish to the third. That's been elusive. It remains such. The 3-ball simply won't go for Miami.
Yeah, really concerning for them. 0 for 11 at this point. Obviously missing their best shooter again. We've talked about that a few times, but they're going to need some guards to tap into that. And
look at the points. Yeah, look at the point difference right there with the 7 made threes to a Miami team still looking for their first, Liz.
Huge, a 21-point swing, and it's been very different tales from both sides this evening from the 3-point line.
Shot clock off for Miami, but the Canes looking to push. They're trying to make every possession count. Who touched this last? Stays on this end of the floor off the Hokies. 7 seconds remaining in the third. You know, for all that good work Miami did at the start with those 12 early points in this third quarter, the teams have scored an even 18 apiece here in the third period.
Yeah, better than going in to the fourth quarter losing the third. And they're also able to get a baseline out of bounds play here. Those are really good opportunities to have an advantage to score, get the last possession, get some momentum going into the fourth perhaps.
This possession to win the third quarter. And forcing it off the glass. Tippner, a couple of key buckets here. Wenzel a bit earlier in the game. You saw what Osho can do from time to time. Tippner fitting in nicely there. You mentioned the weight game. She had 19, including 12 of Miami's last 14 to lead the Hurricanes to that 3-point victory on the road, their first ACC win of the year. Tamara?
Jason, in this final quarter, Coach Cullip made it clear to her team she wants to see no more layups in transition from the Hokies. They've had way too many easy layups. And secondly, wide open threes. She was like, I don't want to see that either. No more of either one of those in these final 10 minutes.
That's good stuff, Tamara. One thing she would probably like to see on the other side, a 3 of some variety. That's been tough sledding for this Miami team here today. One of the major differences in the game, Liz.
Yeah, definitely. They're sitting at 0-11 right now from 3. Would love to see one go down for them, but she hit the nail on the head, really. The fast break points, the layups from Kyla Freeland in transition, and The wide open threes from the inside out looks have been really, really important for Virginia Tech. They're going to need to limit that if they want to stay in this in the fourth.
Well, and it's got to come down to some stops here because remember, they were trading buckets with Virginia Tech in the third quarter. That doesn't get you very far when you're trying to take a bite into this lead. So right on target with the encouragement at the end of the third. Let's see what it does as we wade into the fourth period. They're looking for a little help there initially. Now deciding to take it to the bucket. Proved to be the better option.
Yeah, Kyle really uses her offhand to block that defender going up strong. As a former defender in the ACC, I know myself that's a really hard shot to block and to effect, so as long as you don't get called for the foul, that's a good move from her.
Kyle ends up with 14 on that end of the floor, but Virginia Tech, there's that theme again, coming right back on the other end. Look at this full sequence.
Yeah, there's Kyle using that left arm to block Freelon, get that shot up and in for her, and then on the other side of things, we had Carleigh being effective.
As it fall off the front of the rim, looking to add a little more. Instead, it holds at 53-41. There's a window there to shoot. Sometimes that makes it a little tougher. Rim's off. Nothing tough about that. On the money is Wenzel.
More connection from Mckenzie Nelson to Carleigh Wenzel. We've seen a lot of that so far this season. Another great play. Wenzel was so ready to shoot that. She caught it, had a quick release, and it was true.
16 points, 4 of 6 from behind the arc, 6 of 9 from the floor for Wenzel in this one. And remember, limited time in the third quarter because of the foul situation. But here's something on the other end. From three-point land, no less, there's that elusive three for Miami.
Kenson finally getting one to go down for her team. Miami now 1 for 12. I would like to see that a little bit sooner, but hey, better late than never. An inside-out look from the elbow to the three-point line is always going to be a good shot also. Good possession from Miami. Got the three to go down.
You know, tinkering right around double figures right now, and you know, coaches always talk about it, players always talk about it. There's something about if you can just get it to single digits right about now.
Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of time left in this game. 8 minutes is a long time in basketball. You never know what could happen, and they're one possession away from making it single digits. It's definitely not out of hand right now.
Comes down to those stops you were talking about just a moment ago. Looking for one now is Miami. Won't happen on this possession. A foul instead, and here comes a chance at the charity stripe. That's going to be against Kyle, and she just picked up her third.
Yeah, she's gotten in foul trouble in some games so far this year. Not too much of a concern right now. Of course, if she gets another one, that'll be a different story, but good job by Kyla Freelon being aggressive and drawing that foul.
At the line for your Hokies, number 0, Kyla Freelon, shooting 2.
She doesn't seem to think it's much of a foul, neither does Coach Cullip, but it's kind of how it always goes when you're on that side of things.
First opportunity at the free throw line today for Freelon. She's too strong. Hokies have only shot a couple of free throws in this contest, interestingly enough. She connects on the third, and it's the first made free throw for Virginia Tech in the game. How about that? We're into the fourth. First made three for Miami. First made free throw for the Hokies. You don't see that every day.
No, some interesting patterns in this game tonight.
All shakes out to a lead of 13. They're going to say Freelon was not providing much space for Kyle down there. She's whistled for the foul.
Yeah, that's a tricky play right there. Kyla Freelon using her arm bar. Coach Duffy arguing that's not a foul, but the only thing about that is when the offensive player opens up down low and gives her stomach to the basket, that's when you have to let go of that arm bar. Kyla Freelon leaving it up there maybe a little bit too long, and Kyle able to draw that foul.
You can say this about the officials. They're getting raised eyebrows on both sides. That usually means they're calling it both ways. Here's a whistle, and this is going to be an and one chance coming for Miami. Just what the doctor ordered right here for the Canes. Now, careful about invoking the doctor because she looks a little shy of putting pressure on that right knee. That's the last thing you want to see right now. Here's a look at what happened.
Going up strong on that play, a turnaround, using her body. Wenzel may be getting up under her a little bit, but a good strong finish. Hopefully she's okay.
Kempson walking it off before she goes to the line. Tamara?
Yeah, during the last media timeout, Kimson actually was getting that knee wrapped by the trainers. It looked like she was putting some gauze there and then wrapping it up. So it appeared to be more of a scrape than an actual injury in itself. So definitely something to watch the rest of this game.
Just keep finding you sometimes, though, doesn't it, Liz? When you have one thing going there, it just kind of becomes a nagging scenario. And you certainly hope there's going to be no further effects in that vein for a Miami team already a little short-handed, as we documented earlier tonight. Seven and a half to play. Lead 11 after that last Miami possession, and this is going to be worked out of bounds. Canes will have it following the turnover.
Also did a really good job down there guarding Karis Baker in the paint. Pulled the chair out from under her a few times. Baker really looked like she wanted to get the ball down low. Was really trying to make that a point of emphasis in that possession, but great job defensively from Miami keeping that ball out of there for her.
Adams comes in. Kimpson takes a seat with 7:16 to play. Adams handling up the floor. Quick pass inside. Well, in the end, that was handled beautifully by Osho. For a moment there, it looked as if Kyle was going to have trouble working the pass her direction. When it all shakes out, it could be three.
Yeah, that was a great call from Coach Cullup. Great pass from Kyle and a great strong finish from Osho. Really good job calling that play, though. They got exactly what they wanted on that. They knew the double was going to come and were able to drop that ball off down low on the other side for a good finish.
Osho, her first field goal, trying for three the old-fashioned way. It rims off, but she gets her own rebound for a moment. It's eventually cleaned up by Raviv. Important possession, it seems, for Miami. Now, we've got a whistle. And they're glancing up at the clock. And an inbound coming just in front of the table here with 6:51 to play. Say it again. This seems like a very important possession for Miami.
Yeah, it definitely does. They've got a bit of momentum the last few possessions. They've got the lead down to 9.
Talked about that single digit, the mentality of it a moment ago. Miami has it there. They'll come away without a fruitful possession here. We'll see what Virginia Tech answers with.
Putting a little more pressure up on the ball in maybe a 1-3-1 or a 1-2-2 look.
You felt like coming in, these teams were pretty evenly matched. Middle of the pack, trying to make their mark in the ACC. Miami trying to bear that out here in the fourth period, and the turnover going to give the Canes a chance to inch a little closer, perhaps.
Yeah, Miami definitely, I think, is a talented team. They've come out tonight and not exactly played their best. I think they're going to look better on the offensive side of things more often than not as the season goes on. I'm sure they're not going to shoot 1 for 13 from 3 every night that they come out. Had some struggles there, but I've been impressed with their fight in this fourth quarter. They have not given up. They've shown more looks on defense. They've been intentional about running plays on offense, and that's led them to more success than they had in the first half.
And still within the realm of possibilities, a Miami comeback, and that'll make it a little more likely. Very nice look to knock this down, and Miami has Raviv in the score sheet again, and it is a 7-point basketball game if they can come away with a W. Hokies have led from the get-go, but Miami making some noise here in the fourth.
Yeah, they definitely are. They've looked a lot more in flow and in rhythm on offense, and also more intentional and aggressive on defense, and they've been able to get stops on one end better than they have in the first 3 quarters, and also been able to see the ball go through the hoop a lot more times.
Kyle comes away with the rebound, 32-31, a +1 advantage for Miami in the rebounding category tonight. That's how close it's been on the boards. Miami trying to make it a little closer on the scoreboard. Kyle could not get it to go, but a valiant second effort by Osho draws a foul.
Yeah, Virginia Tech can't afford to not get that rebound. They were able to force a miss from Kyle. A good look. Miami got a good look on that possession, but one to make her miss. Down low, see here, she gets the ball one-on-one ISO, you make her take that shot. That's a good shot. Once she misses it, you've got to secure that rebound. Grace Baker's got to block out on the backside. Giving up that offensive rebound is just going to allow them too many chances to get points on the board.
Well, we gave you the overall rebound numbers. That is the 15th offensive rebound for Miami. They are +6 in that category. But what you just showed us there, Liz, that's not the first time we've seen that in this second half. That's been the approach and the sequence for Miami.
Yeah, Coach Golub has called that play many times where Kyle's getting the ball on that block, that exact same block. It's happened numerous times in the second half. They've had success out of it. So what do? Continue to run it. What works, they're going to continue to do, and it's brought them back in this game.
Hokies at one point in the second half led by as many as 18. The lead now, a third of that. But a big rebound for Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
perhaps exactly where you would expect it to come from. I'm sorry.
Right. If Miami is going to continue to get second possessions on their end of the floor, Virginia Tech is going to have to do that as well because both teams are able to finish shots at this point. They're going to need all the shots they can get.
That's a great point. Makes every possession critical, and this one will be Miami's. Well, what's available to Miami on this possession, Liz?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kyle getting the ball again on that same block. She's starting in that position now. We'll see if they get the ISO for her. Looks like she's posting up. Exactly what we expected.
Building coming to life in support of the Hokies.
There she is again, getting the ball down low and being strong.
This gonna go against Kyle.
Yeah, we're gonna need to see that one again, I think. She definitely uses her off shoulder a good bit when going up strong. Let's see what we have here. That right shoulder going into Trent a little bit strong. Having 4 offensive fouls against Wake Forest. I believe she only played 19 or so minutes in that game. It was a closer game than we would have anticipated.
And that foul of the offensive variety gives her 4 fouls in this contest tonight. So now playing in that difficult scenario. And, you know, keep in mind, that's a 3-point swing right there. That had the potential to be an and one if the call goes the other way. Still playing with force, and she lays it home.
Well, not too much of a concern right now with 3.5 minutes to go, but still might keep her from being as aggressive as she would be on the shot blocking front.
The lead 4, this would make it 7, it will. Timely 3 from Mckenzie Nelson.
And that is a shot that Mckenzie Nelson would not have taken her freshman year. That is the growth that she has had, so impressive. The confidence to know that a good shot for her team is her shooting the ball.
9 points for Mckenzie Nelson. A trio of trays, the story of her night offensively. Let's look at this last sequence.
Yeah, we talked about Freelon getting out in transition. Here's Kyle doing a little bit of that, getting ahead of the play, and then on the other side of things, Mckenzie Nelson said, "You're gonna be a few feet off? Sure, I'll shoot the 3. I can do that too."
That is not only her 3rd 3 of the night, that is the 9th made 3 for Virginia Tech in 16 tries. Most of those in a contest, most 3s that is, in a contest for Virginia Tech this year. What a night to do it. Kyle on the other end quiets the crowd for a moment, knocking down the free throw. 3:07 to play, the lead shrinks to 6. Virginia Tech out front by 5 as Kyle makes them from the charity stripe. Again, this one of the strengths of this team in ACC play has been their work from the free throw line. It shows up again here. 3rd in the conference in that category. Ten on the shot clock for the Hokies. And trying the handoff, it is simply lost out of bounds, will be Miami basketball.
Yeah, Anaya Trent on the floor for Virginia Tech. The freshman hasn't logged too many minutes this year, but Coach Duffy definitely wanting to match up with Kyle's size a bit more. That's got to be the reason she's on the floor right now. And maybe a bit of a freshman mistake on that last possession, but that's what you're going to expect sometimes when you have youth on the floor.
Miami with the mission of trying to make it a 1-possession basketball game here. With 2.5 to play. Osho picks up her dribble. She can get it to Kyle. Quick turnaround, just enough disruption there. How about the youngster getting the job done right there?
Yeah, look at that. I'm not sure if she exactly followed the game plan, kind of let it go baseline when the double was coming from the middle, but regardless, able to recover and get that block. Impressive stuff from Anaya Trent, not getting herself completely out of the play.
Yeah, recovery, the key word there. It's a nice way to slice it. With 2:22 to play. Inbound coming from the baseline with 6 to shoot. Something quick for Miami. Adams. What a gutsy play from Adams.
Coach Phillip absolutely loves what Adams has done for this team. Really important that she's able to go to her in a time like that to get a crucial bucket for the Hurricanes.
One possession game. Let's check with Tamara.
Bucket for the Hurricanes coming straight from the Energizer Bunny herself. She said it to me straight. I know I can get to the rim. I know I can score in the paint, but I want to get more shots from outside. So let's see if she can add to what she just did a few minutes ago.
Down by as many as 18 in this second half. Miami looks for the lead, connecting on only a second 3-ball tonight to tie it at 60.
We have seen some clutch play from the Hurricanes when players have stepped up. Kimson with 6 made field goals now, Gal with 5, Kyle being really aggressive down low. They've isoed her a ton. They've had a lot more success on offense.
Well, for more on that Miami huddle with this out-of-bounds play, let's check with Tamara.
Coming out of halftime, Coach Cullip was really honest with me. She said, I'm disappointed in Shea. She's missed way too many shots, way too many bunnies. During that timeout just now, she immediately ran up to Shea, gave her a real big hug, and gave her a kiss on the cheek. You can tell that disappointment. She's now very proud of her, what she's done in the second half so far.
Let's see how they close it out. These two teams with now closing in on 80 seconds to go in a tie contest. Possession arrow would keep it on this end of the floor. Miami leads with 1:12 to play. For the first time tonight, a Miami team that trailed by nearly 20, as many as 18 in the second half, is out front.
1 minute remaining.
1 minute to respond for the Hokies. Nice feed. True finish.
What a play. That was such a good pass from Carleigh Wenzel. Saw so much composure and patience in that possession. At times it looked like they were out of sorts, but Carleigh was able to grab that ball and make an upperclassman leader type of play.
Freelon ties it after the feed, and everybody up on their feet inside Castle Coliseum. 10 to shoot for Miami. Half minute to go in the basketball game. The board to the Hokies. Shot clock is off, and Virginia Tech will take a timeout with 18.8 to play. Who would have dreamed when Virginia Tech had that sizable advantage just moments ago that the Hokies would need to draw something up for the win? This rebound gives them the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, great rebound from Paris Baker. Able to grab that away from Osho. Super important, a critical time, of course. A good finish, or a good shot attempt from Miami. That's a good look for them. Virginia Tech got a little bit lucky being able to grab that board, and now they have the advantage going into these last 19 seconds.
Liz, Miami hits only their second 3 of the game, both of them in the fourth quarter, to tie it. And then takes the lead for the first time in the contest inside the closing seconds. But it is Virginia Tech's now to try and win the basketball game with the shot clock off.
Yeah, and Coach Duffy's been really good in these situations. They practice late game situations a lot. They were doing it in shoot around earlier. Really intentional about what she gets out of moments like this, and these players will have practiced something similar to this before.
Whose winning streak continues? Who picks up an ACCW? Down to 7. Nelson, that's swatted away by Kyle. And Miami calling for a timeout with 2 seconds.
Position to be in on defense. You want to make sure you can test the shot that Miami's going to try to get, but you definitely don't want to send them to the free throw line, especially this team that does a pretty decent job there.
Raviv is going to trigger the inbound. Into Kyle. Quick turnaround. And she's not able to work one through ahead of the horn for number 500 inside Castle all time as a program. And another key ACC win and some momentum to begin the new year. That's what's on the line between these two. First possession in the overtime to Miami.
Yeah, you speak of momentum. Miami definitely has that momentum going into this overtime period, and that's going to be really important when you only have a certain amount of possessions you can get out of it.
Well, Kyle on the first possession of overtime with a bucket that's true, and Miami is out front initially. She has 20 points in the basketball game. Keep in mind, she's playing with 4 fouls. Straight up and down, just on cue there, and is able to spoil the Virginia Tech possession without any further trouble. I go to your point a moment ago, Liz. Miami squarely enjoying the momentum right now, and that will build on it. Nice recovery by Osho to finish.
Definitely. Things are looking like they're coming much smoother for them on offense. Completely different look than we saw in the first half and even the third quarter. But things really starting to fall for them.
Much needed bucket knocked down by Daly.
Absolutely. Getting to her sweet spot. That mid-range jumper is most often pure for her, and that's what they need right now. They need good looks that they can count on when the game's on the line.
She's one of 3 in double figures for Virginia Tech, joining Wenzel and Freelon. Daly has 12. If you weren't with us, down the stretch in the second half, Miami trailed by as many as 18. Now leading it by 2 with 3 and change to go in the overtime period. Wenzel, who's the leading scorer for the Hokies with 16, calls for the basketball again. It's Daly. That's a little too strong. And it's eventually gathered up by Kempson.
Yeah, not a horrible shot. We know Daly can hit that, but a little bit of a crowded area to hit that shot in.
Another fruitful possession for the Canes. And how about this attack of the basket for Raviv? She's one of 3 in double figures now for Miami with 13. Kempson 14. Kyle, of course, leading the way with 20. And Kyle disrupts this, but it's back in the hands of the Hokies. And Freeline makes it count.
Yeah, able to get that shot to fall, but again, bit of an out of sorts, out of rhythm offensive possession for the Hokies. They're going to get this timeout, have one more defensive possession, and then Coach Duffy is going to point, really turned over a leaf, and Coach Kulip, I think, has done a great job of settling her team, making them believe in themselves in these final few minutes, and they've looked really, really strong.
Canes trying to carry some of the football magic over to a New Year's Day road win in the ACC. With the basketball under 2 to go in the overtime, and that's disrupted and knocked out of bounds by Daly. And we will have Raviv to inbound. Remember, Raviv 13, Kempson 14, Kyle 20. The trio of leaders scoring-wise. And speaking of the scoring leader, she's got more coming. An and 1 chance for Kyle, who just posted 22 in the contest.
Yeah, really impressive stuff from her, even with multiple bodies around her. We spoke about that in the beginning in the open. Hear that double, you see Karis Baker doing everything she can, but Kyle just able to grab that ball and finish strong. She's a seasoned player. She's been around for a lot of seasons of basketball, and you can really tell in these critical moments.
That pass a reminder of the ACC's football representative in the college football playoff. Great work by Kyle, who goes to the line now for more on her work tonight. Here's Tamara.
Coach Cullup, in that last timeout she just called, looked immediately at her and said, baby, I know you're tired, but you got to win this. Step in the gap, take charges when you can, and do not let 10 and 1 score, guys.
She did get those 2 from the floor and pushes the lead to 70-66. Too strong. And the rebound away to the Canes. Everything suddenly trending Miami here.
Yeah, and interesting point to note that Coach Kulip pointed that out about Kyle maybe being tired. She only averages 27 minutes a game, and up to around 38 right now, so definitely giving it her all. You can't really exactly tell. She's been producing like she's fresh.
Well, long way to go here, but she will have earned that 500th victory. It would be one to remember if tonight is the night it comes for the Miami head coach. She was the first to tell us.
Want to play for, really fun to be involved with, and you can tell that this team really, really cares about this win in this program.
Yeah, when you're closing in on 500 wins, you find a variety of ways to get the job done. That much is sure. After taking just a moment to move around, Raviv will see this rim out. Remember, this is an area that Miami's been so good. Third in the conference from the line in ACC play. That looks more like it. The second one goes down. The lead 5 with a minute to play.
Yeah, Virginia Tech going to look to get a shot up pretty soon in the shot clock. They don't want to let it go all the way out and then give Miami the rest of the shot clock on the other end.
Hokies need it. Big time rebound. Freeland gives him a chance. Nelson won't go. Rebound to the Canes with 35 to play. And now the Hokies having to foul as the numbers trend the visiting Canes direction.
Nelson, that is her second personal foul.
Nelson, plenty to give there. Just a second personal.
Headed to the line.
This is going to be somewhat tough sledding for Virginia Tech now if Miami lives up to what they've been at the free throw line this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're looking at a 6-point game, 33 seconds left. It's a tall task for the Hokies, but Virginia Tech does have 2 timeouts. They're going to be able to get the ball advanced and draw something up. And who knows? Who knows these days? Crazier things have happened.
It's a wild one. They need to flip the script that Miami utilized toward the end of regulation. That is a 9th made free throw. 9 for 15 from the charity stripe for Miami. A big reason the Canes have the advantage.
And now we're looking at a 7-point lead for Miami. That really changes things. 3-possession game makes the ask a bit more difficult.
15 foul.
Third on Colo and a 15 foul there. She will work her way off. Osho into the contest. And Baker to the line. Well, chance for Virginia Tech with the clock not moving, but it will not work out on this first from the charity stripe. Just gave you the numbers from the free throw line for Miami. Think on the difference. 1 of 4 for Virginia Tech prior to what you just saw. 2 of 5 tonight.
Yeah, really difference there. Only getting to the line 5 times versus 15 for Miami. Virginia Tech, that's normally something that they're pretty good at, getting to the line. They have really aggressive downhill drivers at the guard position. They have pretty aggressive posts as well, so it's kind of shocking to see. But
you go back, though, to they held an 18-point lead all the way into the depths of the third quarter. So this game really turning on a dime with a Miami surge down the stretch. The reason for some of those numbers trending that direction. Here's Adams a little short on her first free throw. But tough sledding now with 22.7 to play for the home team. After holding that sizable advantage in the second half. And well, you kind of step away from this for a moment and it speaks to what you're going to find out about Miami in this 2026 portion of the bookended by 2 ACC road victories. Hokies have other thoughts and still plenty of time with which to work, but that makes it tougher. The 3 rims out. And now Miami playing a little keep away. And Kyle fouled with 8 seconds to play. That will do it for Wenzel, who just picked up her 5th, trying to stop the clock.
yeah, tough break for Carleigh Wenzel, but good job by Kyle to make herself available. Good job by Miami to make Virginia Tech run a lot of that timeout. Not able to get the foul, they continue to move the ball up the floor. And Kyle now sitting at 22 points and 13 rebounds. It's been so impressive in the second half and in this overtime. She's a huge part of what they do. Obviously, she's leading the league in top 5 in rebounds and points per game, which is super impressive. And she's brought that experience to this game and helped Miami close this one out.
100%. And those were the 2 leading scorers colliding right there. Wenzel does depart, leading all Virginia Tech scorers with 16. And the numbers just continue to climb for Kyle. With that made free throw 23. And that's where she sits in the overtime period. 23 points to lead all scorers. Miami surges back from an 8